Theism markets a supreme being who created and governs everything. Does the Bible support this view, or does it present a deeper philosophical understanding of creation? Isaiah 45 and 42 depict God as the creator, emphasizing his sovereignty over the earth and humanity. However, these verses hint at a symbolic meaning where creation is not just a physical act, but an expression of a certain kind of wisdom and understanding. Jeremiah 10 and 51 further suggest that the earth's establishment and the heavens' formation are grounded in wisdom and understanding, rather than mere physical acts. The Bible often uses natural language to convey deeper philosophical ideas. For instance, in Psalm 71 and Job 28, power and strength are synonymous with wisdom. This theme continues in Ecclesiastes and Proverbs, where wisdom is depicted as a source of strength and life. Genesis 1, often seen as a literal creation account, is to be interpreted symbolically. The earth being without form and void parallels Jeremiah 4's description of desolation. This implies that the creation narrative illustrates no literal creation, but the establishment of a certain universal order surrounding empires and their priesthoods. Moving further into the kind of creation the Bible endorses, Proverbs 8 personifies wisdom, underscoring its personal and devotional importance. Proverbs 3 states that the earth is founded by wisdom and the heavens by understanding, suggesting that the Bible only cares about creation by wisdom and understanding. The Bible's approach challenges the literal interpretation of a supreme being physically creating the universe, instead presenting God as wisdom. The Bible's philosophy is not what we think. The Bible's philosophical lens emphasizes creation by wisdom and understanding over literal creation by a supreme being. We are invited into the philosophical culture of the authors that wrote the Bible, who see God as no supreme entity, but as wisdom. By allowing the Bible's narrative to speak, and by questioning its narrative, we align our understanding with its standard, gaining the intended appreciation for its character. The philosophy of theism as a whole, assumes the existence and the maintenance of the universe and everything that is what we come to experience as human, as being operated and organized by a supreme being, by a quote-unquote supreme being, by an assumed quote-unquote supreme entity. Does the Bible teach this? Is this the main concern within the Bible? Is the Bible's main concern with an assumed quote-unquote deity operating the actual universe, and then the relation of that deity operating the universe to the humanity that is supposed to have sprung from such a supreme being? Is this the narrative in the Bible? Is this what the Bible is about? Does a theistic worldview support what Bible is? And is the Bible supported by or supporting a theistic worldview? Does the Bible have another point of reference? Is there something else within the Bible concerning how it operates that is different from a theistic worldview or from an assumed theistic worldview? Are we placing onto the Bible an assumed theistic worldview? Are we placing onto the Bible an agenda for which it does not support? We are going to answer these questions. We are going to see how the Bible defines its character, how it categorizes its own character. We're going to see how the Bible defines its self, and we're going to see how that definition of self, how it relates to us. We are going to see if what is out there matches up, because I'm always enjoying the conversations about what the Bible is about. And when I do actually say what the Bible is about, there's always some silence there because it's really not what is heard. So we're going to see from the Bible what the Bible is about. We're going to let the Bible show us. And in this journey, in this excavation, we're going to see how things align. And we're going to be able to weigh what we think we know with what is in the scriptures. So we're going to be able to weigh what we think we know. Do we know the Bible? Do we know this? We like to say that we do. We like to say that we want to. But when it comes to the actual point for what is in here, and there are many that you can draw out. There are many that we can draw out. There are many that can be drawn out. But we're going to focus on what the Bible is about. Is the Bible about a supreme being that you and I must relate to? Is the Bible about a supreme being governing the actual universe? Is the Bible about that? Or is that placed onto the Bible? From what we review, we're going to be able to answer these questions. These questions that are so pertinent concerning the trauma that is associated to one's religious experience and then the aftermath that one can suffer from really not being informed about where their experience has been and where their experience should trend towards. Does the Bible articulate the position that there is a quote-unquote supreme being that has created everything? Does the Bible state this sort of opinion? The book of Isaiah. Isaiah 45:11-12. Thus saith the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, and his Maker, ask me of things to come concerning my sons and concerning the work of my hands. Command ye me. I have made the earth and created man upon it. I, even my hands, have stretched out the heavens, and all their host have I commanded. Well, okay. Here we are. Here we are in the book of Isaiah, and it is talking about the stretching out and the creation. And the one that is speaking is the Hebrew deity. The Hebrew deity. They are the ones that have done this, and they are talking about them spreading out and stretching the heavens and creating the earth. Here we go. Still in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah 42:5-6. Thus saith God the Lord that created the heavens and stretched them out. He that spread forth the earth and that which cometh out of it. He that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and spirit to them that walk therein. I, the Lord, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thine hand, and will keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles. Now, we have this here in Isaiah of the stretching out of the heavens, the creation of the earth, and the one that's doing it, and the one that's doing it is the assumed, quote-unquote, supreme being of the Hebrews, the supreme being. Is this actually what this is talking about? Are these verses actually talking about literal creation? On the surface, sure. What we're reading, let that be. When we're reading these pages, they can just be pages, right? They can. But in reality, beyond the pages and beyond the scope of what is here, is this actually talking about literal creation, literal breath, given to literal whatever is on this literal creation? Is that what this is talking about? Well, when we dig deeper into the scriptures, we actually get other views. Same language, articulated in a more refined way. To the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah 10:10-13. But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting King. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nation shall not be able to abide his indignation. Thus shall you say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by what? Just read that again. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his discretion. When he uttereth his voice, there was a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. How is the world created? How is the world created? Isaiah told us they were stretched out. I did the stretching out. I did the measuring. I did the breath giving. I did all that. When you go to Jeremiah now, the same stance, but it's a little bit more refined. Let's just see this. In verse 12, he hath made the earth by what? Power. He hath established the world by what? Wisdom. And hath stretched out the heavens by what? His discretion. Now, the author writing the book of Jeremiah is writing this here. And in another chapter in their same work, they're going to cite the same language, but they're going to emphasize something very differently. Book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, 14 and 15. The Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. He hath made the earth by his power. That's the same from before. He hath established the world by his wisdom. That's the same from before. And he hath stretched out the heaven by what? Now that's different from before. Before it said he hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom. He hath stretched out the heavens by his discretion. Same language now, different chapter. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom. He hath stretched out the heaven by his understanding. When we're hearing about the stretching out of the heavens and the earth, the creation of the earth and the heavens and the world and all of that from within the Bible, it's not literal. It's not literal. We have to know that. We have to know that, and that depends on context. That depends on the context for the type of category that the Bible is. Is the Bible a history book? Is the Bible an actual archaeology book? The answer to these questions of what we think the type of book the Bible is, it's going to be, it's not that. Bible is categorized as a philosophical book. And a philosophical book in the sector of the religious, correcting religion. Everything in this book, everything. There is nothing in this book, in this literature, that is primarily or firstly literal. The stretching out of the heavens, the creation of the world, the forming of the earth, all of this is done through understanding. The earth is formed through understanding. The heavens are formed through understanding. The earth is formed through wisdom. The heavens are formed from wisdom. The entire landscape, the entire atmosphere, the realm in the matrix for which the Bible operates is not natural, ecological, or biological. We will see this.
Ever wondered how to truly connect with the Bible? In just 60 seconds, you'll discover a unique way to deepen your faith. Knowing Bible is a course crafted to bring you closer to the Bible and yourself. Tailored to fit your learning goals, it offers a personal journey. Through readings, reflections, and interactive classroom dynamics, you'll grow spiritually. Assignments are designed to give you space for personal devotion. This course helps you envision a devotional experience that truly suits you. Imagine a course that meets you where you are and takes you deeper. Don't miss this chance to transform your spiritual life. Click the link in the description for more information.
The earth is made in and with power. What does power mean to the Bible? The earth is made with and in power. What to the Bible does power mean? The Psalms. Psalm 71, 17 and 18. O God, thou hast taught me from my youth, and hitherto have I declared thy wondrous works. Now also when I am old and gray-headed, O God, forsake me not, until I have showed thy strength unto this generation, and thy power to every one that is to come. Now the Bible is doing some word association, typical fashion of its teaching. Until I have showed thy strength unto this generation. What is the strength? And thy power to everyone that is to come. To the Bible's mind, power equals strength, strength equals power. Job 28:2. How hast thou helped him that is without power? How savest thou the arm that hath no strength? Again, word association allows us to understand that to the Bible's mind, strength means power. Power means strength. Job 36. Job 36 and verse 5. Behold, God is mighty, and despiseth not any. He is mighty in strength and wisdom. So we're moving on now. The earth is made in power. To the Bible's mind, power means strength. What does strength mean to the Bible's mind? We can think of strength as being physical strength. That's what we would reduce strength to. Dealing with Bible, though, how does Bible define power? What is power to the Bible? There is no body to the Bible. There is no body to an invisible deity. There's no body. What's the force? What's the power? What's the kind of strength that you can imagine should come from an invisible source? How does the Bible define power? Strength. How does the Bible define strength? Wisdom. Read that again. Job 36:5. Behold, God is mighty, and despiseth not any. He is mighty in strength and wisdom. Isaiah 10:12 and 13. Wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Lord hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks. For he saith, by the strength of my hand have I done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent. I have removed the bounds of the people. I have robbed their treasures. I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. Again, by the strength, by my wisdom, by the strength of my hand, by my wisdom. Job 12:12 and 13. With the ancient is wisdom, and in length of days understanding. With him is wisdom and strength. He hath counsel and understanding. So a little bit more of a branching out. The earth is made in and with and through power. Power to the Bible's mind means strength. Strength to the Bible's mind means wisdom. Strength to the Bible's mind means wisdom, counsel, and understanding. The earth is created in wisdom, counsel, and understanding. This is the creation. This is the spectrum. This is the sphere of what the creation is to the mind at the core of the scriptures. Wisdom, counsel, understanding. Ecclesiastes 7:19, very plain. Wisdom strengtheneth the wise more than 10 mighty men which are in the city. Power. Power is strength. Strength is wisdom. Power is wisdom. Strength is power. Power is counsel and understanding. The earth being fashioned. Yes, I have stretched out this, I have done that. But how? How? We get our answer. Through wisdom, through counsel, through understanding. That's important to factor in when we are comprehending what was stretched out and what creation, the mind at the core of the scriptures, is set over. To the Bible's mind, power equals strength, strength equals wisdom. Now, the Bible doesn't stop there, because the Bible defines strength as God. Bible defines strength as God. To the book of Psalms. Psalm 81:1, sing aloud unto God our strength, make a joyful noise unto the God of Jacob. Psalm 54:1, save me, O God, by thy name, and judge me by thy strength. Bible's letting those associations speak. Strength equals wisdom. God is another term for strength, or is exchanged for strength. And that strength is exchanged for name. Now, we have to think rationally and practically. When saying that God is my strength, quote unquote, God is my strength, in what way can an invisible entity be called strength? What is taken for strength? What is supposed to be taken for strength practically? When we're thinking about that, when this is saying God is our strength, God our strength, in what way? In what way can quote unquote strength be conceived to associate with quote unquote God? Well, Bible allows its definitions to shine. Strength equals wisdom. When claiming that God is our strength, quote unquote God is strength, we're actually saying quote unquote God is wisdom. The confidence taken in what is invisible can only be taken through understanding, through counsel, through wisdom. That's the only kind of strength in a legitimate experience that one can count on. Anything illegitimate will make the experience physical. You will need to apply physical stimulus in order to make the experience real to you. Now, physical stimulus, it doesn't just simply mean what you can hold in your hand and twirl around with your fingers and chant on. It is theoretical. Taking theory, taking anything that adds stimulus to the impulse of the human being, to allow that to regulate the experience, that's fraudulent. That's a fraudulent experience. In all actuality, should we regulate the conversation from how the Bible defines things? Strength. To take strength in the living God is to take wisdom in the living God. And strength, Bible associates to the term quote unquote God. They're synonymous. God is strength, and in real terms, God is wisdom. 2 Samuel 22:33, God is my strength and power. So these terms, they're not going to be separated. And he maketh my way perfect. Psalm 73:26, my flesh and my heart faileth, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. To the Bible's mind, quote unquote God, it is a term that ultimately means wisdom. How can anyone, and again we have to think, have faith, courage, confidence in what is invisible? Instead of relying on whatever our imagination wants to rely on, Bible would have the experience certified through wisdom. The Bible would have the experience certified through wisdom. It is only through wisdom, it is only through understanding, it is only through counsel, meditating and reflecting on these words. However, the experience would allow it to, so that the individual conversation's character and conscience can grasp the definition for which its experience needs to be funded, needs to fuel it. And when doing so, the understanding that is gained, that is what is supposed to be, quote unquote, God. That's how the Bible operates. That's how the Bible looks at its experience, or the intended experience, I should say. That's how it looks at the intended experience that it would give to its student, that it would give to its patient. When the earth is written of as stretched out, sure, but stretched out how? Through power, strength, wisdom. Wisdom is continually exchanged for quote unquote God. So in reality, the earth is created in and with quote unquote God. And God, to the Bible's mind, is not a deity. There's no deity called God to the Bible's mind. To the Bible's mind, quote unquote God is wisdom. It is a very specific wisdom for which we will see portions of as we go through this at this moment. But it is a very specific wisdom for the regulation of the devotional character and its response to the character of the being of the human. It's this wisdom that this realm called earth, and we're going to see what earth is in illustrations going on in this, but understanding how the creation is to the Bible's mind is important. Literal creation is not something that the Bible is concerned with. Biology isn't something the Bible is concerned with. The biology of the devotional conversation is what it's concerned with. It's not literal biology, that's philosophical biology. That's the biology of the construction of the inward parts of the heart of the human, of the heart of the being of the human, and of the heart of the being of the devotional conscience, character, and conversation. When the Bible is applying itself, we have to be able to apply to the Bible the way that the Bible is applying itself, because if not, we're going to go off into places that the writers that are placing this philosophy into its existence, that they never once intended their reader to go into.
Are you seeking a deeper connection with your inner self? A way to align your life with your spiritual values? Through guided reflection, mindful discussions, and personal growth counsel, Justification helps you explore your beliefs, strengthen your faith, and cultivate a life of purpose and meaning. Join a community of like-minded individuals on a journey to spiritual fulfillment. Embrace your devotional character with Justification.
An important concept for which I've broken down in videos prior, but an important concept to understand is when we enter into the Bible, definitions take on their own. There is a narrative in the Bible. We don't have to invent a narrative. We don't have to bring our narrative into it. That's unnecessary. When we enter into the Bible, it has its own narrative, it has its own terms, and those terms are explained by that narrative. To the Bible's mind, quote unquote, God is no deity. No deity. To the Bible's mind, God is wisdom. The earth is created with and in and through wisdom. That's Bible fact. How? How is this type of creation taking place? How does the Bible articulate this? To get our answers, we're going back to Genesis chapter 1. Genesis 1, 1 through 3. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Is this a literal scene? Are we reading about a literal catastrophe? Is this literally the scene, the state of the actual earth, world, universe, atmosphere, realm, matrix, however you want to think about that? Is this literal? We get our answer in the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah 4, 21 to 23. How long shall I see the standard and hear the sound of the trumpet? For my people is foolish, they have not known me, they are sottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, and they had no light. Is this literal? Is the language here used in Jeremiah literal? If it is not literal, we can take the language and the context used in Jeremiah and safely apply it to the language and the context from the first chapter of the early verses in the book of Genesis. Now, what is the earth that the author writing Jeremiah, is highlighting? What's the earth that was without form and void and all of that? What's the earth? Same book. Jeremiah 4, 6 and 7. Declare you in Judah, publish in Jerusalem. Say, blow ye the trumpet in the land. Cry, gather together and say, assemble yourselves. Let us go into the defense cities. Set up the standard toward Zion. Retire, stay not. For I will bring evil from the north and a great destruction. The lion cometh up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make the land desolate, and thy cities shall be laid waste without an inhabitant. Jerusalem is the earth that is without form and void. Jerusalem is the earth that is without form and void. When we're seeing the same language used from Genesis in the early chapters of the first chapter in the book of Jeremiah, the authors of the scriptures are allowing us to understand that it is safe to move language and context from what we're seeing in Jeremiah to what we are hearing in Genesis. The answer is no. Genesis 1 and the speech about the void and the earth and the dark and the this, it's not literal, nor was it meant to be literal. It is actually an illustration of what's going on in the book of Jeremiah. That's the illustration. It's not about a literal creation, and it never was, and it never was intended to be. That's not what the first chapter of Genesis is about. Those verses lining up again with Jeremiah, the Bible allows us to safely transfer the language and the context of Jeremiah to Genesis so that we can understand that in Genesis, the void in the earth that is void in the dark, it doesn't belong to a universe or to a literal world, but it belongs to a Jerusalem, a nameless Jerusalem. It belongs to a Jerusalem. Continuing in Jeremiah. Jeremiah 6:1. You children of Benjamin, gather yourselves to flee out of the midst of Jerusalem and blow the trumpet in Tekoa. Set up a sign of fire, for evil appeareth out of the north. This evil that's appearing out of the north is the king of Babylon. The reason that there is in Jeremiah 4 a cry and a vision for an earth or Jerusalem being void and without anything there, it's because the king of the north, it's because Babylon, it's because the king Nebuchadnezzar, it's because a king has come to destroy the land. That's the scene in Genesis 1. The same type of language used again allows us to safely transfer language and context. When we get into Genesis 1, we're actually seeing the event of a destruction of a Jerusalem by a Nebuchadnezzar. That's what that's about. Everything else thereafter is tailored to what goes on in that instance during and after that point. The creation of Genesis 1, that's a wrong term. The actual real term to use is workmanship. Genesis 1 is a workmanship that is tailored to whatever Jeremiah 4 is highlighting concerning the movement of the king of the north upon Jerusalem. When we can grasp that, when we can understand the type of workmanship and the type of workmanship during the periods that those days, quote unquote days, are after, well, we will be able to see the narrative shine forth and what the author of the book of Genesis in their first chapter is pointing to, which is not a literal creation of an assumed supreme being over a literal world, earth, and sky. It is all in relation to what the author in the 4th chapter of the book of Jeremiah is pointing to. This is the wisdom for which this realm called earth is governed by. Again, what is this wisdom? What is this wisdom that the first chapter of the book of Genesis and the early verses that we just read, what is this wisdom that is underlying this realm called earth? The book of Daniel. Daniel 2:20-23. Daniel answered and said, "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his." These are words we have been reviewing. Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. Might, power, might, strength. What is this wisdom and might? Verse 21, he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me now what we desired of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. The wisdom that regulates the world. The wisdom that regulates the world is not a wisdom relating to mankind's relationship to a quote-unquote supreme being. The wisdom that regulates the world, and we're keeping this strictly to the Bible, is the philosophical sequencing behind the rising and the falling of religious kingdoms and empires. That's what the first chapter of the book of Genesis is about. The opening scenes of the book of Genesis, they are not about a literal creation. They're about the destruction and the recreation of a fallen religious kingdom or empire. The book of Genesis is cyclical. The book of Genesis is cyclical, especially those first 3 chapters. They're not solitary incidents. As we are seeing in the book of Jeremiah, the same language in Genesis 1, it's because the same scene in Genesis 1 is repeating, and the author is articulating that fact. Genesis 1 is a repeating scheme, is a repeating sketch of the rise and of the fall of religious kingdoms, governments, and empires. That's all the first chapter of Genesis is about. Every single one of those quote-unquote days, which are times, seasons, and periods, they are fit and they are regulated to the rising and to the falling of religious kingdoms and governments and their priesthoods. That's all the first chapter of Genesis is about. That being the definition to the first chapter of Genesis, as the Bible makes very clear and plain. This is the underlying wisdom that we are supposed to be attuned to, that we are supposed to grasp, that we are supposed to be drawn to, that we are supposed to understand and comprehend. Because with an understanding and comprehension of the frailty and the regulation and cycle behind what goes on within the religious world, and the rising and falling of their particular religious governments, kingdoms, and backdrops, along with their priesthoods, well, that's supposed to be an example for us to understand how to take our personal experience, our personal human and devotional experience, how to take that, how to make sense of that when we're able to see the type of wisdom and the type of understanding that the mind within the scriptures highlights as being central, the central focus, as being the central and the central focus for how things go on this planet. Again, we have to remember, the Bible's concern is not your concern, is not my concern. The Bible's concern is a philosophical concern of its own, with a philosophical narrative of its own. When we look at the terms and how this goes, when we look at the terms within the Bible and how its character defines itself and defends the position of that character consistently to the terms that it uses and reuses, that it rehearses and recycles, we're going to be able to grasp what is actually going on within the scriptures. Creation, better understood as a workmanship, is an act, is an energy, a wise energy that goes on. It's unchangeable. It will never stop. There's nothing that we can do about it. That's the blueprint for this existence called life. And that's what the first chapter of the book of Genesis is about. To place anything more onto that, to place anything less onto that, anything more or less onto that, it deviates from the actual narrative. So when we have our theistic point of view, and then we're seeing that the Bible doesn't actually support an assumed an assumed deity, entity, supreme this, first that, cause what, over whatever it is? Well, what's really going on there is that an ism is being placed onto the narrative that is already within the scriptures. That's what's taking place. The Bible doesn't really go into that because that's not the Bible's concern. The Bible's concern isn't about a supreme being's presence. The surface of the scriptures takes from popular theological standpoints and runs with it for an agenda of its own. We're dealing with the core. What's the core of the scriptures about? And when you look at what the core of the scriptures is actually about, its a narrative doesn't point to a theistic worldview, because a theistic worldview isn't the Bible's point. It's not what the Bible cares to rationalize. The Bible has its own, again, narrative, and with that narrative are issues. These are issues to the Bible. And these issues within the scriptures that it is highlighting, these are issues that when I'm saying we are personal devotional conversation in whatever age a human will take this document and review it, it should matter. Because the point that the Bible is trying to bring out is a point particular and familiar only to itself. What gets put onto that, that's where the harm in all of this goes, because the Bible never touches on what we assume the Bible touches when you look at the type of lingo, language, and context that the Bible is promoting.
Ever wonder if your faith truly reflects your experience? Discover the essence of a living and breathing faith in A Faith That Works. A Faith That Works challenges you to not just believe, but to act on your beliefs in a positive way. Cooperate with the Bible to cultivate a faith that doesn't just speak, but also acts. Give your faith the chance to shine. Your journey is unique. A Faith That Works encourages personal reflection to find your devotional essence. Deepen your connection with the Bible. Let its devotional characters shine through your actions. Experience the transformative power of a book challenging you to examine your faith. Let it change you. Let it guide you. Embark on a journey to explore the depths of your beliefs. Let A Faith That Works be your compass.
The Bible, the type of creation that the Bible is focused on, is a type of workmanship that is guided by a particular wisdom. The Bible focuses on the guidance of this realm, this planet that we call Earth, this land that we call Earth, this sphere, through a particular wisdom. And in one aspect, the particular wisdom that the Bible is concerned with is the particular wisdom associated to the movement and to the behavior of priesthoods within governments and governments within priesthoods. It's in association with the type of movement that the author writing the book of Jeremiah concerning Jerusalem and concerning its estate to be destroyed by the destroyer of the Gentiles, the king of the north. This is the wisdom that the Bible highlights its student and its patient needs to take into consideration, because this is the concern within the scriptures. And we can understand that this is the concern within the scriptures because the very first verses touch on this in the very first book of the Bible. The entire first chapter of the book of Genesis is devoted to this wisdom. That's the first chapter of the book of Genesis. Nothing literal about it. And never was it intended to be. That's one aspect. The next aspect of the type of wisdom that this realm called earth is regulated by is found in the book of the Proverbs. Proverbs 8:25-30. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth, while as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree that the waters should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth, then I was by him as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. This language is not literal language. Nevertheless, it points to another aspect of the kind of wisdom that the Bible highlights. Who is speaking? Who is here speaking? Proverbs 8, verse 14. Counsel is mine and sound wisdom. So now we're going to get the identity for who this is, or who was just speaking. We're going to get their identity. Counsel is mine and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. It is understanding that is the creator of everything. What does that mean? Proverbs 8:33-35. Hear instruction and be wise, and refuse it not. Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my doors. For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. The underlying wisdom, the other aspect of what underlies this existence that we call the human existence and the devotional experience, is understanding. It is this understanding that is actually the intended life for both the personal and the devotional conversation. Ecclesiastes 7, verse 12. Wisdom for wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is what? But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. Remember in Proverbs 8:35, whoso findeth me findeth life. Jump to Ecclesiastes 7:12. The excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. The idea that the Bible highlights is an idea that creation, the ultimate creation that the Bible's mind is concerned with, is creation through understanding. Creation through understanding. And the only understanding and the type of creation that this is practically and can be practically applied to is the creation of what is within. Bible's concern is for the creation of what is within. Within primarily, firstly, the devotional conversations, conscience, and character. Secondarily, within the conscience and character of the being of the human. Bible's concern is this. The creation concern at the heart of the Bible is this. Still in the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 3:19-22. The Lord by wisdom hath founded the earth, by understanding hath he established the heavens. By his knowledge the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down the dew. Read that again. The Lord by wisdom hath founded the earth. By understanding hath he established the heavens. By his knowledge the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down dew. My son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. So shall they be life unto thy soul, and grace to thy neck. The earth has its wisdom and is created by it. The heavens have its understanding, and they are created by it. The Bible is not about literal creation. To the Bible's mind, quote unquote, God equals quote unquote wisdom. It's our responsibility to know yes, that God is creator. We have to know that. But we also have to know how the Bible defines God. We have to know that, because if we aren't, we're going to be magnifying something that is not within the landscape or frame of mind that is connected to the scriptures. At the heart of everything that the Bible is, there is no deity within it. That's how I can say that, due to the narrative that the Bible constructs of its own philosophical character. At the heart of the scriptures, there is no deity. Quote unquote, God is wisdom. What does that mean? That means that the most important thing that the most important thing in this life is wisdom. And the Bible highlights two types of wisdoms, two types to take into consideration and to keep dear to our heart, both personal and devotional. The first type is the wisdom concerning the regulation of priesthoods within governments and governments within priesthoods, how that works, how that plays out, what that looks like. And that's for our personal devotional experience along with the personal human experience. Second, to take into consideration is the creation of what is within by understanding. The creation of what is within by understanding. Bible does not focus on and has seemingly no care for the creation of the natural world. That's not Bible narrative. Bible narrative is creation of what is within. Bible narrative is creation of what is within. Bible narrative is the workmanship of church and state entity, its rise and its fall. Bible narrative is workmanship of what is within the being of the human in relation to the being of the devotional conversations, thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors. There is nothing within the scriptures concerning one supreme being, an assumed supreme being in relation to humanity. Humanity is not the focus. The individual human is. The agenda that takes the individual away from themselves and places them into a group called humanity is not an agenda that the Bible supports. Bible philosophy is the individual well-being of the individual human and devotional experience. Only then, when the individual human and devotional experience is cared for, can that cared for human and devotional experience care for another. That's how this planet is bettered. The aspect of the philosophical consequences associated to theism or to theology, they have nothing to do at all with what is within the scriptures. And when it comes to the frustration that we feel when we are in the realm of religion and the associated trauma that is felt from the disappointment therein and the lack of engagement therein for what is within us, for what is about us, it stems from the fact that what we are in, it's deviating from rational sense, especially when you line that up from through and for what is within the scriptures. What is here within the scriptures, it is not what we think we know. We have to be able to grow familiar with the conscience and with the character that is within the scriptures if we are going to expect our devotional character and the conscience of our character to transcend where it's at. That's all the Bible is about. Transcending the devotional conversation's conscience, thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors, the conversation's character from the stipulated simulation within the religious world. When we can allow that to take place, when we can allow that to take place and the Bible's character to shine, well, we will be able to understand the type of experience that the Bible's philosophy intends for us to have.